All right, we are live. All right, everyone, welcome back after lunch, a little after 1:30. We're going to spend the next 20 minutes or so just having a committee discussion about the items that we have still open for the week after break week. So the week that ends with Friday the 13th. So starting off with the conversations that will still be rolling over. The first one is H686, an act relating to expanding identification of certain lobbying advertisements. We are going to we looked at some new language yesterday, and yes, with the lobbying advertisements. So we do have some more testimony on this with a new draft, and we will look at that stuff and then hold for another day for a vote, possibly tomorrow, but into next week. But I just wanted to reference that one as one of the items that we still have to fine tune and, vote on once we have consensus on the language. So any questions or discussion on that one right now?
On which one?
Lobbying disclosures?
686.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Next one I have on my list for discussion was H103. We've looked at that a couple of times this week, and it seems like there needs to be some more conversations on that one. So I have that one. We had that looking like flagged for a vote this week, but it looks like we're tapping the brakes on that. It seems to be the conversation right now.
Is one up with
One, the veterans
a service.
compensation.
Gotcha.
Prohibited practices for
Yeah.
services involving veterans.
Okay.
Yep. And then, 686, we have at 2:30 for like that run, but that vote, we have down for possible vote tomorrow, but I just referenced it because it's still like kind of open-ended. And next up, 519, right? 519 is the Randolph conversation. So, my understanding is like due to certain stakeholders and interested parties not being available this week, that's going to have a continued conversation over the break to see where we can land with those folks. So that makes sense to everyone.
I think, well, we've got the man who can answer the questions for I think the members of this committee who are not ready to vote is here. Maybe we could settle that score.
I mean, I did not know he was popping in. I don't know if we have that clock right now because we have Commissioner Knight coming in, Chair Kornheiser, and then a walkthrough, and then more witness testimony at 3, and then the floor. So I don't know if we have the time in the schedule, perhaps we can do it, but I did not know he was coming in, so I kind of had my brain set with this one per the conversations earlier that it was going to get sussed out more over the break. Yes.
Would written testimony suffice from that witness, or do we need to have a conversation?
Great question. I guess I would be fine. I'd be comfortable with some written testimony, and then we could use that to decide whether or not if it answers our questions.
Well, I think. Do we have any questions? I don't have any.
We're looking, so
First of all, who would the individual be representing that's coming in that would potentially?
So we've got the treasurer's office who can answer the questions about.
Okay, I
ones
did
you
not know who was coming in. Perfect. So if the questions get answered in written testimony, I'm okay with it.
Okay,
But I would like the opportunity to ask questions if I have them after the testimony is written.
I think something written from the treasurer's office would help us tee up.
so in that case, can I ask for the questions to be articulated?
I told you what I need,
Right.
so you could relay that.
I did. I got the answers and somebody who can, in a more official capacity, answer those questions, is prepared to do so right now.
Okay, but what we're doing right now is we're trying to have a community discussion on
I
the.
tried.
No, I understand what you're trying to do.
Right. I said that, but that's, it sounds like you're saying no.
Can we
I
post the testimony?
No.
Like, I didn't say no. What I said was like send the written testimony in so we can look at it and see if it answers all of our questions.
Right. We'll come to written testimony.
Perfect.
We still have a whole week after the break.
Yeah, I'd like to take one piece of good news home to one town if I can, if the difference right now is me having taken a stand about it, then that's what I'm trying to do.
Or-
Like, I think we should vote on it today, but
I hear what you, which we would do, still have some questions to answer. Like over an agenda right now. So that's what we're doing right now in this moment in time.
and it's me expressing that this is my priority.
I have heard you. So, so we did the 686, we did the 103. We discussed the 519. And now I think this may be the last of the larger pieces. So as we've talked about, all of this sort of lead up to this omnibus bill with the emergency management, public safety response, disaster response, I wanted to go through some bullets to get consensus from the committee on these items one by one, so we can start getting some drafted for us to look at. So the first one was the Vermont Language Justice Project, their program request, which is something that we included in our budget memo. So are folks comfortable with us including that in the draft?
Yes, we recommended that they get the funding that they asked for, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So it would be, right now, it's a recommendation, but it's just floating out there, not in any bill. So we would be putting it into a bill. That seems efficient.
Next up, Vermont Food Bank Ready Response Request. It's an unspecified ask. It needs statutory language, but it is for them, if I remember correctly, to work in coordination with Vermont Emergency Management when problems occur. So
To specifically distribute food and bottled water. When Vermont Emergency Management asks for the assistance of the Vermont Food Bank or the food bank doing it on their own, either or. And it also includes transportation. So there is a money piece, but we don't know what the money would be. It's just enabling language. And we need them to come in to talk to us about it. But right now, it's just, is this concept palatable to the committee to add this?
Yep.
And it's for obviously emergencies.
correct.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's the second on the list of 9 items. Up next, we have the Vermont Urban Search and Rescue Team, USAR. We've been talking to those gentlemen for years. This was also in our budget rec, and that is to get their base from, it was like 450,000 plus minus up to 720. Now that gap would be filled with one-time money every year. Yep, and so the goal or the intent of this language is to get that to the 720 as base fund.
So would you say that acronym again?
USAR, that is the Urban Search and Rescue Team, the like Swiftwater and things of that nature. We've had those gentlemen and
Gotcha.
yeah.
It's easy to disregard this stuff until you find out you really needed it.
Maybe it is testimony for somebody who broke through the ice in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's another flaw.
No, they've got a heavy presence in my area with my district having such expansive coastline on the Lake Champlain, so.
Same.
Line.
It is.
I have coastline too in my district. Did you know that? It probably is. But mine extends to the Canadian coastline.
Yeah, yeah. Canadians park their boats in my waterfall.
It's okay.
So,
Just saying.
okay, we're finding that one to be an amenable presence in the forthcoming draft. Cool. This plays into that same conversation. This is that technical rescue micro grant program, $5,000 a piece for $25,000. That was also part of the conversation with those same folks.
Mhm.
Everybody cool?
Yeah.
Next up is the conversation about the fire chief, fire warden request to merge positions.
Are we ready to vote on that one?
This is for inclusion in the big omnibus bill or committee bill that we're
Yeah.
building.
Oh,
We're not voting on the individual bills. We're just weighing in on whether we want to include it in the committee bill or not. We just did for the military.
yeah.
Report.
I was a little confused on that one because I feel like they were referencing when they were giving testimony, they were referencing some kind of document that we did not have.
They provided probably an all committee and I can recirculate that if you want.
I don't need to see it. I just, the concept is fine, but I don't know enough about it. I haven't read it. I only heard what they said and I was confused when they were talking.
I can recirculate.
So-
I think I was-
Okay, thank you.
I think I was gone for that part, right? Was it?
No, it's when I raised my hand because I was confused. That's when I was like, they're referring to a draft. It's not there because they did.
No,
keep
that was
saying, like-
something different.
No, I'm saying personally, like my lived experience of yesterday, I was also confused because they were referring to something. That's why I was wondering. I was like, is it this thing they're referring to or what? So, yeah, you were here.
I was here for that
You
one.
were here. Yeah.
Okay. Yesterday was such a blend.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not opposed to it. I
Yep.
just wanted to see when, I'm assuming we'll have some language at some point that goes in there, so.
Yeah, and this, the conversation right now is what to get drafted for us to have a first review in an organized form.
Cool.
Okay, so that is,
I'm gonna send this to the whole committee
Okay.
about the grant program.
gotcha. Next up was that testimony we heard yesterday on H 697. We had Detective Caro in on that bill for the 25-foot radius when first responders, right?
Yeah.
Which is inclusive of all first responders, were in an emergency situation. Yes, Rec Waters Evans.
I have some hesitation about that one. I feel like it might, I'm worried about the effect it'll have on the media. I know they can be annoying sometimes, but also it's really important that we protect their access to things. 25 feet seems far. I know somebody testified that you could use a zoom lens or something, but that's not always possible or available. So I think we're gonna need to hear a lot more testimony about that. It also seems like it's secretly trying to give people an opportunity to, and I'm not saying like maliciously, but just somehow prevent bystanders. We've seen a lot of it with like ICE stuff in Minnesota or whatever. And I know this doesn't apply to ICE necessarily, but it seems like it's trying to limit civilian or like bystander involvement in what they think might be an infraction by law enforcement or something, and I just need to hear some more testimony on that. We could include it, but I'm not a huge fan
Yeah.
of
No,
that concept in general.
and that was something we just talked about yesterday, so I was anticipating
Yeah,
putting time at the table, hearing from different people and representatives of the media. Definitely.
okay.
So
Hold on, I got a hand from Rep. Hoover.
I agree. I think it's already a law that you can't interfere with an officer performing your duty. If you take a warning and you don't back up, it just seems to be another mechanism for a charge, which is intimidating at least. Costly at worst. it is a law that's in conformity with some of the other states that I've looked up. But I don't know that it's that much of a problem here. From what the officer that presented talked about the Burlington bar scene, I don't think that's gonna have an impact on drunk people at 2 o'clock in the morning.
But no, I definitely recognize this is something that was gonna need more testimony.
But yeah, hear more justification.
Report.
But on the other hand, I talk a lot with our police forces in our communities, and there are times that it's well, like the detective testifying yesterday that yeah, granted, it was around the bar scene primarily, but
Yeah.
still, when you're trying to play, no pun intended, traffic cop and primary cop trying to do an arrest, it can be tough. I mean, they're already up against, they got enough things stacked and they're not in their favor already, but so that's my 2 cents on it.
We'll have, if we decide to include it into the draft, we'll definitely have time to like take testimony and discuss it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Agree. We need to hear more.
I would vote for not including it.
Okay. Any other,
Well, I fundamentally agree with Mike, but it goes back to my position that a law does nothing to prevent something. It just gives you a way to deal with ramifications, people who don't want to follow the law. So I don't know that it'll have that much impact on changing behavior. It just gives you, don't do that again, slap.
A lot of people have been emboldened to do
Yeah.
things they shouldn't be doing.
Rep Nugent, then Rep Coffin?
I think the concept is important to keep discussing just because there is a public safety aspect to a lot of situations and because of the reduction in police force that are available and the more tension that builds up, I think there's a lot of opportunities for hard things to happen. So I would like to see us at least continue to discuss it so we can try to address it at some point.
Coffin, then Stone?
I was gonna say that we include it, keep the conversation going, because like Rep Morgan said, people are emboldened right now. And they can make assumptions if something's wrong, but they shouldn't be interfering with law enforcement trying to do their jobs either. It'd be like if somebody saw somebody gets pulled over and they just decided to jump in their face because they assumed they didn't stop them for a good reason. We need to at least let people know that this is not acceptable behavior. And news media or anyone can still video from 25 feet away. It just sets a boundary of let us do our job. Keeps the officers safe as well.
So,
I vote we don't include it, but I am fine with continuing the conversation. There's just like so much I feel like needs to be tightened up, testimony to be taken. I mean, there were 4 other states who have HALO laws like this that there's not enough information. So it feels, I understand intent, right? Because there was a HALO law that we passed last year by an boss about this happening in the hospital. So I understand the intent, but I want to make sure that the impact matches up with the intent. And I'm afraid that if we just like put it in, we've only had a cursory look at it. The impact may not be what we intended, and that's not great.
so what we're just gonna hear is the inclusion of this in the bill to have further debate on all of the sections. Once we have it in this draft form, it can be easily removed if we, after testimony, we decide to do so. The draft is not the final version at all. It will certainly be a working document.
I just don't like the language that we heard yesterday. Because I think it's got too many loopholes in it. So if that language is what's in the draft, I think even having that just anywhere out there isn't great. I would
We
rather,
can work that language over the break as well before we have it as a formal document to present next week. So. Rapango.
Thanks. So I just want to reiterate that these are all potential inclusions. Nothing's been decided, and we have the week after break to take testimony, and we have good chunks of time. So if folks have things that they want to know and who they want to hear from, I'm making those notes as we talk. So please send that information to me or say it out loud here. Because we're gonna build that agenda for that week based on this conversation.
So we still got a couple more chunks to touch on here. So what is the position of the committee on this for inclusion in a draft?
The 25-foot thing?
Yes.
No,
So I
thank
guess
you.
we'll go thumbs to get a good gauge on this.
It's like feeling different.
Okay, well, I guess we got Rep. Hooper.
I don't know that having some weighing in on things in this committee is like evident like that. Like, I don't feel like this exercise is very fruitful. Like, it seems very scripted and directional. So yes or no, who cares? Frankly.
Okay, so I got 2 abstentions, I've got 2 no's, and so that means with 4 backed off, that's 7-4. Yes. All right, next up is the H901 is the disability rights bill that Rep. Burrows brought in. Yes, Rep.
Did you skip fire chief, fire warden, number 5?
Yeah.
Did we?
We got that.
Sorry, I,
Sandy was ready to vote on today.
Oh, right. yes.
Very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
She's very red.
Yes. Sandy's gonna report that bill.
Okay, so 901 disability rights, that conversation with girls, that was the one.
What would you say?
Yesterday. And that was, yeah, the Burrows one, so. Thoughts on that one, comments? Everybody good with conclusion on that? Yeah.
Sure.
question, do we need to hear from anybody else?
Probably.
I assume we were gonna hear from more people on all of these
Yes.
items.
Yes, so
Okay.
I would like to have those folks invited before we leave for the week. So if anybody has individuals who would be willing
I
to
think Rep.
testify.
Burrows would be a
that
good person
Oh, Brett.
to ask for
Yeah.
Okay.
stakeholders.
Burrows, people buried in homes.
So this next piece is that conversation I brought up a little bit earlier in the week with what I missed.
So Representative Burrows, not people burrowing in their homes.
Oh, wow.
I'm like,
Okay.
I said Burrows, people buried in, I'm like, then he says Brett Burrows, I'm like, oh.
Yes, no, we were speaking about the representative who came in yesterday and talked about their bill.
It's like wind in the willows.
Okay,
Sorry.
so this next piece was something I mentioned earlier in the week where I had a conversation with Deputy Treasurer and the way that there's an expectation of how federal money will be coming in during disasters. Setting up the treasurer's office is like the receiver of the funds, and then trying to establish a method of disbursement from the treasurer's office. And this is a conversation that's been going on for softly over time, looking to the future of this planning. And one of the things that kind of triggered this conversation to be a little bit more in depth was the denial of the FEMA funding in the Northeast Kingdom. So I started the conversation with the treasurer's office. They're amenable to it. And then my next step, if we agree to try and include language in this, is to reach out to the bond bank.
So you're saying that that the FEMA money would go to the treasurer's office and then the treasurer's office would disperse it to the communities?
What we discussed was actually, this is where the bond bank comes into play, because so then the treasurer's office would in theory give the money to the bond bank, because the bond bank has done these sort of municipal level loans very often for disbursements, and they have the internal capacity to do the application vetting, all of those processes. So they would be the sort of administrator of the funds with oversight in conjunction with the treasurer's
All right,
office.
I have a million questions and I wonder if this would be better as its own bill, because it seems kind of major. Like,
Mhm.
my questions being, do they get the money right away? Do they have to apply for it? Does the treasurer then decide who gets some of that FEMA money and what amount they get? Is there like a waiting period after they
Yep.
get it? And when people need those funds immediately? Like I had a driveway or a road washed out a couple of years ago and everyone in my neighborhood had to pay like a certain amount of money up front. And it was a lot. It was like over $10,000. And then when we got reimbursed from FEMA, they put it directly into our bank accounts, like each of us, it was a direct deposit. And I feel like adding a bureaucratic step, knowing nothing about this is
Mhm.
like almost the first I've heard of it, but adding a bureaucracy and a staff time and energy to something that I don't know. I feel like it maybe shouldn't go in this big bill, but should be its own. Seems like there are a lot of components to it that need to be figured out.
No, there are, and that was the conversation I had with the treasurer's office, and I wanted to speak pretty much here. Because I haven't even reached out to the bond bank yet. Now, the bond bank has executed programs like this in conjunction with the state during disasters and other things. So there's sort of like a working template that exists. I don't want to get out of my skis speaking to it, but I felt it was a worthy conversation to at least get some language drafted to look at what we were considering this total bill looks like.
Okay. So if we don't put it into this bill right now, it'll have to wait until next biennium?
Unless we find another vehicle for it.
Is it urgent that it happens right now?
FEMA is less and less a reliable partner in the moments in the state.
Right, like they're not giving us money anyway, so it seems like setting up a whole thing.
No, so this isn't about the like request and then like the reimbursement. It's like sometimes what they'll do is they'll, when they give the state what they were doing, like the situation with yours where it was kind of case by case and then they were
Mhm.
reimbursing. My understanding is they're not going to be doing it in that way anymore, that they're just going to hand the state a big pile of money and say, you deal with it. Instead of doing it case by case, like they've been doing. So this is trying to set up something and to be prepared for them to just hand us a big pile of money and say, you deal with it.
When are they gonna do that?
That's something FEMA's been talking about for some time, and that's another piece that we have to take us from here.
Okay. I mean. Sure, it seems like a lot of unknowns and a lot of confusing things that could hold up an otherwise cohesive bill that's moving forward. I mean. Yes,
Yes, Rebecca.
If it looks like it's gonna hold it up, it can just get pulled.
cool.
Because we have a whole week when
Yeah,
we come back. We have until the 13th, so I think we can continue to take testimony on it if people want to hear about it. So that's my offer.
great.
Okay, we found out that at least including it with draft language. Okay. All right, and then lastly is the communications, public safety communications task force recommendations. And I think I'm gonna ask Rep. Hango to speak to that a little bit, just it's something obviously we've been working on for years here. And was one of the components that was flagged for inclusion in this a while back.
So we heard from the task force and we heard from the Department of Public Safety. We heard about funding that has already been appropriated and they've already started using that they can't continue to use. So we have a number of questions to be answered and they can only move forward in any way, shape or form with statutory language from us. Otherwise, that report that they worked for 2 years on sits on a shelf and doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just suggesting that we continue to take testimony the week after the break to understand better how to help them continue this discussion moving forward. And this has literally been a 2-decade discussion in the state of Vermont. And really has gotten nowhere. And I would love for us to help them get to a place where they can use the remaining $9 million and not lose it. And move forward with something that's more cohesive and more equitable for Vermont towns and us, the citizens who are relying on EMS, fire, and police. So asking you if you would agree to continue the discussion into the week after break.
Are you good with that?
Sure.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And we'll have probably a long list of witnesses, but I really want people's input on who else you want to hear from for any of these. Any of these that we voted to include. And the only thing I didn't get an answer on was the technical rescue micro grant program. Because folks asked for more information, which I sent out a few minutes ago. So do we want to take some time to look at that? Or are we ready to vote on inclusion of that?
How do we want to do that? Do we want to take a look at the email? We can always circle back to that piece later after we move into the testimony. Commissioner Knight. How do folks move on? What's that?
Fine with that.
Yeah.
With waiting?
After, you don't have.
Reading the email and then coming back after.
Yes, okay.
Could you
Great.
just tell me again what the last thing is that you talked about was the communication?
The Public Safety Communications
Safety.
Task Force report recommendations. Hi, Commissioner.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm well. Would you like me to?
Come on up. Yes, we're gonna shift right over to you.
See you all again.
Well,
Are you looking forward to having the week off? Doesn't sound like you're gonna. I am.
How are you? So we have that new draft.
Yes, I'm looking at it now. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Oh, 6, 5 by 1. 6, 5.
2. All right.
So, good up.
And that is under Tucker. And that is draft number 26-0551. All right. And yes, this is still a working draft.
You want me to?
Yeah, no, we were just pulling this.
I thought you were, are you?
No, I was.
I don't know.
No,
Right.
I'm sorry.
I'm ready to
All
go.
right, let's do it. It's you.
Okay, great. So you don't need my name for the record, all that nonsense, or do we need that?
Go ahead.
Okay, Wendy Knight, Department of Liquor and Lottery. Section 2, the one thing I think we need to include in C1 when we talk about allowing manufacturers, Vermont manufacturers to have the tasting rooms. I see you've said not more than 4 fourth-class license locations. A licensed manufacturer may have other products. We're looking at that section there.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's on 2, you said, section 2?
Page 3.
Yes,
Great, thank you.
yes, thank you. So I think what we need to include there is Vermont manufacturers, right? So we don't want, it's not any other licensed manufacturer. it's Vermont manufacturer, because we're trying to ensure that these fourth-class tasting rooms are promoting and selling Vermont products. So I would say that in C1, A, B, C, we're talking about Vermont manufacturers. Malt, vinous, ready-to-drink, spirits. And I appreciate that so I see that the number in B, we talked about spirits, the fact that we have 802 spirit stores, right? We don't want a fourth-class tasting room to have unlimited spirits products because we don't want them to compete with an 802 spirits kiosk store. We had recommended 7 as up to 7 spirits manufacturers, and I see the number is 5, and I was wondering if that was intentional.
I don't think so. I think that might have just been a drafting error with council.
Yeah, we would.
I remember number 7.
Yeah. And the reason we got to 7 is because the average number of Vermont manufacturers and an 802 spirits kiosk stores is 14. That's not the products, it's just the number of manufacturers. So we thought half of that made sense.
Okay.
So that's something I noticed. And then the only other thing I noticed is that when we talked about one day for that certain license, it needs to be a business day.
Okay.
So that is section 5, I think, where we're talking about, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, see number, section 5, it should be one business day prior to the date of alcohol beverage tasting event. Not one day.
Right, well, business day, and that was section 5.
Section 5,
Yeah.
19.
that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Those are the only comments I have and requested changes, please.
Okay. Any questions for the commissioner? Yeah, we just got this draft in a short time ago, so we didn't even really have time to review it.
Understand.
So thank you for the eyes.
You're very welcome. I used to be an editor, so comes in handy.
Doesn't it? Yes. All right. Any questions for the commissioner? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll get this stuff tightened up and we'll shoot it over to you guys for a final.
Excellent. Appreciate it.
Excellent.
Chair, Susan Jen.
Sammy's got something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So on that, anywhere it says, an additional license to manufacturers, it's gonna say an additional Vermont, licensed Vermont manufacturers, it's gonna say that. Anywhere that says manufacturers, the word Vermont, will you put in front of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In the AB. Yes. And make sure we're yes, throughout that section, because we want to reference Vermont products to be highlighted.
This is what we have the question. Yeah.
Excellent. I want to be respectful of Representative Kornheiser's time. How are you? Thank you for coming down and joining us.
Absolutely.
So committee, we're shifting gears over to government accountability, 867. And we asked Chair Kornheiser to come down here in her role as the chair to discuss the proposed changes that we were considering. So.
Hello, everyone. Representative Emily Kornheiser from Brattleboro, Chair of the Joint Fiscal Committee for this biennium. I'll tell you a little bit about how we function because it's somewhat unusual. So there are, I'm not going to use the technical terms. They're essentially default appointments to the Joint Fiscal Committee. So all 4 chairs of the money committees are always on Joint Fiscal. There's usually that sort of highest ranking members of money committees from other parties are on Joint Fiscal. And then usually one more person who's lately been the chair of the Human Services Committees on both House and Senate, because that is where a lot of the money gets spent, frankly. We meet every other month during the off session. And during the off session, we're sort of really tasked with protecting the financial interests of the state. We have a lot of statutory reports that we go through. And frankly, whenever there's a crisis, whether that is a good crisis, like an enormous amount of COVID money coming into the state, or a massive financial crisis, like we saw a few years ago, we are the folks that manage it during the off session. Our chairship is technically elected each biennium, but I think since sort of the beginning of legislative time, has followed a particular tradition of alternating between the 4 money chairs each biennium. So right now I'm the chair, but I'm the chair not because I'm Representative Kornheiser, but because I'm the chair of House Ways and Means. Next biennium, the chair will be the chair of Senate Finance, and then it will go to, then the biennium after that, it will be the chair of House Appropriations, and then the biennium after that, it will be the chair of Senate Appropriations. And that, I think, has been going on forever and ever. We also approve any grants that come in both during the off session and during the on session to state government. Sometimes they're enormous, like rural health grants, sometimes they're small. Often, if a committee is doing something during the session that they think requires someone to check in on it and make a final decision during the summer, they ask us to. A lot of the dispatch work that this committee did maybe 4 years ago, spent a lot of time in joint fiscal, and we even did some work on that this summer that I think is coming back to you all. That's the kind of work we do. And we also supervise the joint fiscal office. That's a really important point. So various pieces of the legislature are supervised by different people, which I think is sort of an interesting way that we've all been put together over time. Right, so the Sergeant at Arms supervises the police department. We elect the Sergeant at Arms. The Joint Fiscal Office reports actually to the Joint Fiscal Committee. And so we are their boss, which I think is an interesting piece of the whole puzzle.
Okay.
Would you like me to speak to the actual bill? Is that helpful?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, we were definitely looking to you.
Yeah.
This is a new charge
Yeah.
that would be applied to JFC, so
Yeah.
getting your input is valuable.
We do a lot. As the chair of GFC, and we have not been able to have a meeting in order to discuss this bill. So I'm really just speaking as the chair, not on behalf of the whole committee. But we certainly have the space in our agenda. We are usually all driving in for the meeting, and so we're here all day anyway. So sometimes our meetings are just 3 hours. Extending a meeting if we needed to wouldn't be that much of a burden. And there's often like one thing that we would need to do once a month instead of every other month. And so having a little bit more work would be perfectly fine. One of the pieces that I really appreciate about the Joint Fiscal Committee and the membership of the Joint Fiscal Committee is because of the sort of default and statutory membership of it, you have a group of people who regularly see across the entire body and see almost every bill that passes in depth, which is an unusual position to be sitting from. And so I think we have a sort of good ability to have eyes on where more accountability work might be helpful and who and what would be doing that. We tend to have relationships with each of us because of our work already has a relationship with most of the legislative council attorneys, with the whole joint fiscal office, and tend to know most of the commissioners, not just the ones in like our individual policy area. And so that's a helpful piece for doing accountability work. It would be very normal for us to be working with the joint fiscal office as they bring on new staff and talk through the new staff and what responsibilities of a new staff person would work. So that would be great. And like I said, we already sort of receive regular reports and talk them through. I was on the Government Accountability Committee in its earlier iteration for I think at least 4 years. And then I was on the Summer Government Accountability Committee to find a new accountability committee or whatever we called that. And in that role, we really talked through a lot of the reasons that this hasn't worked before. Not giving a committee sufficient authority to do the work, members of the committee not having sort of sufficient experience or background to do the work, not having sufficient staff to do the work. And I see this bill as it's structured now, really satisfying all of those challenges, and I'm excited about it.
Okay.
I also had no time to prepare to come here, so apologies for.
No, I know the time is.
No blame at all. I'm just sort of like,
And I totally recognize that. We just wanted to really just hear from you because you have such like deep experience in the process of the previous committee, the existence, and then
Yeah.
study committee, and then the evolution of this proposal. So.
Can I add one more thing? This is maybe a weird thing to say, but it's sort of Thursday afternoon before town meeting break, so that's where my brain is. One of the other things about the Joint Fiscal Committee is because of the membership of it, it tends to not have very many people on it who are sort of the more hot-headed newer arrivals to the legislature. It's like.
Wait,
And so we
that
tend to
one.
be sort of like the more like slower moving, checking our boxes folks for whatever that's worth.
Understood.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like a lot of institutional memory sitting there.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, right? Like there's already the experience within JFC's membership to like dissect and analyze in like a more like pragmatic and deliberate way. So I can see where that sort of skill set that already exists within the panel is a good application here. So. Any questions for Chair Kornheiser? All right. So the plan is right now, we're gonna review this language more in depth. We do have it scheduled for a possible vote at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So that is where we're at right now with this, with the intent. If you feel like there's any other feedback, maybe from some of the other JFC members or anything like that, please let us know. Other than that, right away.
Just want to clarify that Representative Waters and Evans and I have requested an updated draft from Tim. So we will be receiving that before the vote, but it encompasses a lot what we heard from
Yes.
Captain Brennan and the plan here of charging the JFC with this.
We're grateful that you are willing to take that work on.
Government accountability is some of the most important work that we can do here. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't, anything else for?
No.
Okay.
Be in touch if you need anything. Thanks.
And then. Reorient myself. That's just.
That is the one from yesterday.
Okay.
I think. I don't think we've seen a new one
Okay, we have
today.
not received.
No, I am, we've shared with, council, and he's just going over a couple things with, Catherine, and I'm from, JFO, just to make sure we're all on the same page. She just was.
Okay.
They just need mine, okay, for that, for them to collaborate. So
Okay. Because we had this listed here.
we did, but then the only time that, Chair Kornheiser could come talk to us was she had 2 to 2:15.
No, okay, so that is
Yes.
that slot.
Yes, that was that
So
slot.
check box on that
Sorry,
slot.
it messed up the calendar,
No.
but I felt like I would have.
I just threw my hard copy away and started doing the digital because that thing was so outdated that I
Yeah.
needed to move to this one. And even that one has a
Yeah. no, that
scheduling
was-
flow adjustment.
That
All
was
right.
our,
And so we've got our next item up at 2:30, which is a walkthrough and some testimony on a new version of H686. That one is the lobbying disclosures. So we will go offline